This is the rental here. It's the newer Scott Gambler from Mountain Creek. They were nice enough to let me change the pedals on it because the stock Wellgills suck. This will be my first time riding a downhill bike. Let's see how it feels compared to a hardtail. Alright, update upon further inspection of the bike. It's got 2 piston rear brakes. That's why I felt like the lever went straight to the back and didn't want to stop the bike. Regular, generic Diore 4 pistons in the front. Back tires are pretty much like finished, so might not stop very good from that either. Whoa, that thing went tail high. Whoa, whoa, I'm going like tail heavy, nose heavy. This thing's crazy. I gotta get used to it. My timing is way off.
Yeah, you gotta get used to it.
All right, I just did like a small little table on that one. I am riding Mountain Creek today with Bruiser Bike and on his DH bike. I was initially planning on just riding my hardtail and then maybe swapping bikes with him, but I'd rather enjoy the mountain the same way, riding it the same style that only a DH bike can provide. Now that I've gotten used to the timing, it's actually a completely different technique. This truly does feel like trampoline. My timing is still off. Yeah. No, I can't get the front up. I would have died on that if I did a hardtail. We're gonna skid out. Thank goodness I got my good pedals. Would have died on that if I had a hardtail. So I was actually comparing the times between the hardtail and the DH bike on bamboo or on other flow trails that we matched. I was actually surprised that the DH bike was only 3 seconds faster on this versus the hardtail on my Ragley. Now, admittedly, the conditions was much better with the Ragley because that was when the park season first opened and the trails were a little smoother, especially towards the bottom. There was a lot of bad braking bumps this time around. So maybe the difference would be a little bigger, but the Ragley did from top of bamboo to the progression drops in about 2 minutes and 6 seconds, while the downhill bike did it in 2 minutes and 3 seconds. I have actually ridden 2 downhill bikes today. So this is the rental on the Scott Gambler. They're 29ers. And I also borrowed Joe's Vetus Dominator, which is a 27.5 bike. I'm not going to be able to put all this in one video because it would just be way too long. But I will also have a part 2 of this on how the bike feels on a 27.5 compared to a 29er. These bikes actually feel very different, even though they're both horse-link rear suspension.
Doing a Phantom. I'm doing a little one today. Alright, so the brakes work much better while I'm in the mountain at higher speed. The traction you get from having a suspension in the rear definitely trumps having 4-piston brakes in the back. How you jump is completely different. Me trying to boost this thing almost killed me a few times. Front doesn't go up, back just goes way high in the air. Hitting a well-machined tabletop, it's literally jumping into a trampoline. The bike does its own thing. So you don't time the pop. At least I can't figure out the timing yet. But it's fast. It's like ridiculously fast. But it's still very tiring. Still requires a lot of effort. Leg still needs to be firm. So it's not exactly a free ride where you can just ride a couch down a mountain. Still requires a lot of work. But you're just going much, much, much faster. We'll see what the next trail has in store for us. At the moment, again, I still don't know how I feel about this, but, and also the progression drop, I don't know if I caught it on film, but it feels exactly the same as landing on the hardtail. You know, it's still got that same, I guess because the hardtail, I'm landing down like front wheel slightly heavy first, and the back just follows. So that, you know, doesn't matter. It's not like a flat type of drop.
I actually blew the back tire out when I landed right there. I didn't notice it till I got to the end of the trail and somebody's like, whoa, look at your back tire. How ironic that I ride a hardtail where I should manage my back tire. My first real run down on a downhill bike and I blow up the back tire.
I jumped the last descent and I landed right on that fucking rock. I was like, oh shit. Would have died again.
Riding a downhill bike definitely encourages you to take more chances, but I'm still doing my best to try to take the smoothest line possible.
Because I didn't even feel it when I landed on that rock. I knew I did, but I didn't feel it. That trail's closed. I'm not going to Exodus. I was looking at that wooden thing.
On my run at Bushwack, I was trying to take the worst line possible to really test the full suspension bike. I would never ride down this way on my hardtail, and Joe was shocked following me. He's like, what the hell is this?
No idea.
I didn't even know if I was even on a part I was supposed to ride down towards the end.
Where was that?
I've been down here before. I do some craziness.
Yeah, sorry about doing those little drops.
That was hilarious. I just tried to go off and land flat.
That's what I do.
This is my first time riding Tempest. You know, it's actually a really fun trail. I like how a lot of the features just keep coming at you one after another. Yeah, it was fun. I like it. What I didn't like though was how the bottom went straight from flow into tech, and that kind of threw me by surprise. There definitely is a different technique on riding a DH bike versus a hardtail. On a DH bike, I feel like less skill is involved and it's much more forgiving. The bike basically acts like a sled, and you just need to guide it. The bike kind of does its own thing. Whereas on the hardtail, you really have to manipulate the bike with your hips, with your heels, everything. Because you really need to control it with using your leg suspension as well versus just staying in the middle.
Almost got punted off the bike on that landing on the long table. Yeah, the pogo stick effect. Whoa, I saw that.
In terms of how the bike feels when I hop on, the geometry on the 2020 Scott Gambler Tune is very similar to my 2021 Ragley Big Al mullet. They're both 63-degree head angles. Reach is around between 440, 430. Wheelbase, I don't know what they set the chainstay length at because it's adjustable on a DH bike, but my wheelbase is just a hair over 1200. So it's within like 20 millimeters of each other.
Oh no.
And sitting on it, it feels pretty balanced. I mean, I just hopped right on. The only thing that needs to be adjusted in terms of adjustment period is the fact that I got so much rear suspension and how squishy it is. Plus, the thing can't pedal worth a damn.
I'm ready when you are. As long as it's downhill, and I don't have to pedal this fucking thing.
Another thing about the downhill bike that absolutely is no exaggeration is that they pedal like garbage. If it's even remotely uphill, even in the largest car in the back, it's pointless. You're just better off getting off the bike and pushing the bike up.
This is where we were last time. Oh, that was a flat landing. Had to clear the bridge, you know?
As I was slowly dialing and adjusting my technique required to jump on a bike with this much travel, after thinking about it for a little bit, on the hardtail, there's absolutely zero give in the back at the wheel. So when you're pushing into a steep lip with your legs, you need to have really, really strong legs to keep the leg firm and to stand up. I've noticed on a full suspension bike, as you're running into the face of the jump, you're at full speed, the suspension actually preloads and wounds up and stores all that energy for you in the legs. And it's almost like you don't have to do any work at all to pop the thing back up. And it just sends you straight up into the air. So you don't need to be anywhere near as strong to jump a full suspension bike as you do the hardtail. But the timing is what makes it tricky, whereas a hardtail, the timing is immediate. You just need to be strong as hell to be able to do it.
Oh, it's a flat.
I also recorded my time at Breakout, which is one of my favorite trails, on a DH bike. Now this one is
That's
on
a new
the
one.
Vitas Dominator with the 27.5 wheel versus my mullet Ragley hardtail. And on the hardtail, I was able to do the breakout, upper breakout in 41 seconds, when on the DH bike, I was able to do it in 42 seconds. So, which is basically the same time, but the difference is the DH bike felt like I was just floating, while the hardtail, I really had to push to get the same time out. I also timed this part of the trail, and the times on the hardtail was 39 seconds on the Ragley, 41 seconds on the New Proof Scout, and 41 seconds on the DH bike. When sitting down and reviewing the footage, I was actually surprised by the results. I honestly thought the DH bike was going to run away from the hardtail in all sections. So this really proves that you can't judge how fast something is by the way it feels, and that a hardtail, or well-written hardtail, is just as capable in the flow sections at a bike park. So what's my takeaway between riding a downhill bike and a hardcore super slack long hardtail at a DH park? I've actually ridden a lot of the same trails that I would ride on both bikes, and running into this the night before, I really didn't know what to expect. I had like a very conflicted feeling about whether or not this was going to be a life-changing experience or like some type of revelation. I was worried if I was even going to be able to jump on this thing. I mean, the adjustment time was relatively quick. I mean, I'm still nowhere near as proficient on this thing as I am on my hardtail. But I honestly don't think I'm having more fun on a DH bike. It definitely offers a much different experience versus on my hardtail, but let's say if I would have spent $4 and get a nuke-proof Descent 29er, I'm pretty convinced that I would either get a mullet or a 29er now. I've seen the light. Yeah, so even if I was to spend all that money on a DH bike, it's not going to be the bike I exclusively bring to the bike park. I'll still bring the hardtail because the hardtail can still bring it. And it offers a completely different fun feeling dynamic. And on the flow trails, as the clock shows, there really isn't that much difference between a DH bike and on a hardtail. Obviously the tech trail, there's no contest. Anybody that only rides hardcore hardtails and wondering if they should get a full suspension just for the bike park, I'd say I'd probably skip that. If you have like a really sick hardtail, I think there's a lot of overlap, and I don't think it's going to do stuff as good as a full downhill rig would do. The downhill rig truly does offer a different riding experience, so there's absolutely zero overlap, and you don't have to like pick and choose which bike you want to ride. You want to have fun or ride crazy and just to test yourself, you ride the hardtail. If you just want to plow through stuff and you feel like coming home in one piece, you pick the downhill bike. Also, how tired I was at the end of the day, the downhill bike, I could still use my legs, which is amazing, but my upper body is still equally sore, so that doesn't change. But on the hardtail, like with the human leg suspension, I'm pretty much shot. Can't go upstairs the same day. And I might have gotten slightly more runs on the DH bike, but I still wasn't going to push it. It's just really not worth it for me at my age to crash. Knock on wood, luckily I haven't crashed recently.
Beeline for me.
Again, thanks for watching. Bye.